Shalom. First and foremost, like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Wakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, pushing this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. Say shalom to you Akim out here. And this is another news article for a sit-down lesson for today on September 20th, 2022 at 1:10 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Tuesday afternoon. And this is a news article from the Associated Press by the Associated Press. It was about 1 hour ago on this news article. And the highlight of this news article, it reads for today in the news, September 20th, 2022. And it reads, Iran faces global criticism, protests over woman's death. It says, Dubai United Arab Emirates Associated Press, Iran faces international criticism on Tuesday over the death of a woman held by its mortality police, which ignites 3 days of protests, including clashes with security forces in the capital and other unrest that claimed at least 3 lives. The UN human rights official called for an investigation of the United States, which is trying to revive the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran, called on the Islamic Republic to end its systematic persecution of women, and Italy also condemns her death. Iranian official dismissed the criticism as politically motivated and accusing unnamed foreign countries of fomenting the unrest. Separately, an Iranian official said 3 people have been killed by unnamed armed groups in the Kurdish region of the country where the protests began. The first official confirmation of the death links to the unrest. Later on Monday, the semi-official Far News agencies reported that small groups of protests has again gathered in downtown Tehran, which is in Iran, chanting death to the dictator. It said the crowd numbered around 300 and that the protesters damaging street signs. So yeah, that's what you call uproars in the people in the world. And I'm about to bring out that scripture. I believe I did a similar video to that in regards the Kurds and the Iranians. I didn't know it was I didn't even know it was about the exact death of a woman, I believe, because I did a similar video to that. So I guess this is like an update to it. So I didn't know it was protesting about the death of a woman. As you've seen, the protests last for 3 days, and it claimed the lives of 3 people, I believe, by unknown groups from the Kurdish side. So that's a little bit in between with the nations against nations as well too, and uproars of the people in the world, and people in that sedition among men spirit as well too, which is recorded in 2 Ezra 15 and verse 16 in reference to that. But I'm gonna bring out 2 Ezra 9 and 3. Salaki, spelled that wrong. This is the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 9, verse 3. For when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars in the people of the world, right? Because we're seeing the increases of uproars in the people in the world, because a lot of many different things and it's in a lot of many issues in different categories can relates to like upwards and the people of the world. If it be like gender equality, justice system, fair justice, fair treatment. It can be about political things, and it could be economics. It could be about citizens in the uproar against their politicians or leaders that's in leader, and they doesn't like the ones that's in charge of their countries, of the citizens, and they have an uproar of it. They have an uproar of the justice system. So it can be in many different categories. That's why you're seeing the increase of the uproars and the people in the world. So it can be in any category. As I just mentioned, those list of names of those different categories. So you're gonna have these. So you're gonna have these many different things gonna increase in the latter days. With the nations rising up against nations and kingdom against different kingdoms as well too, and the sedition among men. Upwards of the people of the world. And I'm gonna go to 2nd Ezra 15 and verse 16 since I mentioned that. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, that shall not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of their action, shall stand in their power. Right, as you've seen about like they had, I think they said over there in Iran, they was sending DEATH chants to the dictator that's leading the country, I believe. One of the officials that's leading the country. And they said they had about like 300 protesting groups, small protesting groups, tearing signs and stuff like that. They was in the streets and stuff like that, protesting. So that's what you call like upwards of the people in the world, sedition among men. They should not regard their kings nor their princes. Which, the uproar of the people that's in rulership. They affiliated leaders, So you're gonna see these things gonna increase more and more and more with the increase of uproars of the people in the world. Huge protests of uproars in the world. So it's gonna increase more and more and more. So with that, this was a quick sit down lesson in the news in regard to this news article right here. As you've seen, photos of uproars of the people in the world. As you see the photos right here, as they doing the protests over there in Iran. I believe it's a protest of the death of a woman. So yeah, these things are definitely going to increase more and more and more. Most of these photos kind of old, from September the 19th. No, matter of fact, no, I'm tweaking this recently. My bad, Salaki. I meant to say, yeah, this was as of Monday of September 19th, so this was yesterday. Yeah, this protest was yesterday over there in Iran. Yep. So this is a clear prime example of uproars and the people in the world, And these are the actual photos. 8 photos taken. And I believe this was a civil unrest for the last 3 days as they protest of the death of a woman over there in Iran. And then you got Kurdistan officials over there as well too. They clashing with them as well too. So the nations against nations, sedition among man spirit, uproars in the people of the world. So these things are going to continue to escalate and increase more and more and more. And matter of fact, I'm gonna bring out that Luke 21 and 25. This is the book of Luke chapter 21, verse 25. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, which we are seeing taking place, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, right? Because the uproars and the people of the world, nations against nations, kingdom against kingdoms, famines, drought, pestilence, plagues, weather droughts, earthquakes in diverse places, heavy flooding, landslide, mudslides, you name it, etc. It says the seas and the raving waves warring. Yep. Because as I mentioned those things, uproars of the people of the world, distress of nations against one another, the nations and the citizens that's in these countries, these towns or province areas located around the world. Then the uproar of their leaders that's in power. They opposing the laws that's been written by these leaders and officials of their respectable country. So he's seeing these things increasing of the complexity, the distress of nations, So these things are going to increase more and more and more, as we see these signs taking place on the planet Earth, and it's going to increase more and more and more. So as I mentioned once again, I hope this was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushua Bahashem, Wakar Kradash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely, and shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely, and shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and above.